We play the Tigers on April. Appropriate. Bob Murray.
All right, good morning. I would like to welcome everybody to the Board of Directors meeting for the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency. We're at the BWB Building, 201 West 3rd Street, Jamestown, New York. We're streaming live via YouTube and Zoom in February the 27th at 10:35 in the morning. I'll go ahead and do a roll call. Gary Henry is here. Brad Walters.
Here.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Here.
Tom Harmon.
Here.
Dan Hetzenrader. Stephen Thorpe.
Here.
And Dan DeMart.
Here.
Amy Harding. Welcome. I'd like to thank Jeanette for sending out the minutes. We had a chance to review those and look those over. Having already reviewed them, do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Sagan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Dan, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The minutes have been approved. We'll move right into new business. The Silver Creek Apartments LLC, presented by Christine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeanette, could you please pull up the photos? Sure. Thank you. Oh, no, that's fine. I thought you were handing me something. So Jeanette is going to pull up some photos pertaining to this project. And actually, Jeanette, if you can minimize for just a second, I want to see who has joined us from the. We have Alan Handelman with us from Park Grove Realty, Ashley Schweitzer. It says Tom Whitney, but that looks like Ashley to me. Is Tom also with you? Okay. Good morning, welcome. And then Matt Fitzgerald is joining us from Phillips Lytle to discuss the project as well. And good morning, Melon. Good morning, Bob. So yes, Jeanette, if you could pull up the photos. So what I'm asking Jeanette to pull up is some of the photos that are pretty recent for the project that we're going to discuss this morning. And Jeanette, if you could just flip through, I think there are 4 that kind of show the condition of the property today. Oh, and you have to stop share each time? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. So maybe just, a couple would be sufficient. I think we get the idea. There's the front street view of the old Silver Creek High School.
I had some nice interior ones.
Yes, I know.
Kind of scary.
So there's another street view. And then, Jeanette, if you could also pull up the, one of the more recent, the renderings, there you go, that one. And we'll display that. And for those here in the room, we also have some renderings that have been distributed to the board members and staff. So I'll go ahead and begin, and then I'll kick it over to Mark for some additional comments. The Silver Creek Apartments project is proposed for 58-62 Main Street, otherwise known as 60 Main Street, Silver Creek, New York, 14136, located in the village of Silver Creek in the town of Hanover. I mentioned that joining us today, we have Alan and Ashley and Tom from Park Grove and from Stell. Stell and Park Grove team previously provided us with a very detailed project presentation to the CCIDA Board of Directors last October when we first received their pilot application. At that meeting, a due diligence resolution was passed, and we have been working through the review process over the past few months. Later in this discussion, I will invite Alan, Tom, and Ashley to answer any questions you may have. So if you've lived, worked, or spent any time at all in the Silver Creek area, there's little chance that you would have missed seeing the prominent 57,000 square foot structure located on downtown Main Street. The former Silver Creek High School location that was constructed over 100 years ago and has been sitting vacant and deteriorating for the past 45 years. As I thought about it, like, that's a really long time. In fact, it's most of my lifetime. You know? So the building was never improved or redeveloped when it was last acquired in the 1970s. It has fallen into extreme disrepair and is now the epitome of blight, a terrible eyesore, and potentially a public safety hazard. Not only that, its highly visible condition on Main Street is an impediment to investment in the village of Silver Creek. Portions of the roof on the right side of the building have deteriorated extensively and collapsed. During our latest walkthrough in October of last year, further interior deterioration was also very evident, as Mark alluded to. Broken windows, crumbling walls, ceilings, and debris everywhere. As a CCIDA project manager, I've personally worked with various teams proposing to redevelop this site over the past 16 years. County and local officials have been working on this for decades. For one reason or another, these proposals did not cross the finish line. Last spring, we reconnected with Stell, who engaged Park Grove Development. Excuse me. And together a new updated project proposal was developed. I think most of us here are probably acquainted with Stell, as they currently own and operate numerous housing projects in Dunkirk and Jamestown. But for anyone who may not be as familiar, Southern Tier Environments for Living, also known as Stell Inc., provides a variety of rehabilitative and supportive services to individuals for Allegheny, Cattaraugus, Chautauqua, and Southern Erie counties. They help people by providing essential services that allow individuals to live as independently as possible in our communities. Park Grove Realty is a real estate development management company focusing on multifamily residential, mixed use, and commercial projects. Its owners have over 50 years' experience in real estate acquisition, development, management, construction, and ownership. The company develops, manages, and owns high-quality properties with a focus on long-term growth. In summary, the development team plans to acquire and remove the abandoned and derelict former school building and construct a new safe apartment building of approximately 50,070 square feet with 1- and 2-bedroom affordable residences for seniors age 62 and up, 15 units of which will be set aside for supportive housing. The project will provide an opportunity for low-income seniors to remain in the community with affordable rents conveniently located within walking distance of the village's commercial corridor, where cultural, commercial, and civic conveniences are located within 1/2 mile of the project site. The project will also increase municipal and school district revenue by providing future payment of property taxes and having taxes paid on time. As many know, the property is currently in tax foreclosure. The applicant has requested pilot tax lease benefits from the CCIDA, including real property tax abatement, sales tax abatement, and mortgage recording tax abatement. The requested pilot is considered a deviation from the CCIDA's uniform tax exemption policy. A 30-year pilot is needed in relation to a state program's regulatory period that restricts rents and incomes. It is also needed to satisfy lender and investor needs. The estimated pilot payments are $347,486 with a net exemption of $858,978. Sales tax abatement in the amount of $497,261 is requested, along with mortgage recording tax exemption in the amount of $191,574. Approximately 180 construction jobs are projected, as well as 4.75 full-time equivalent jobs in year one. The cost-benefit analysis was included in your meeting packet and details showing an overall cost-benefit ratio of 13:1 this project. As part of our due diligence process, on December 12th, 2023, CCIDA held a public hearing at the Village of Silver Creek's Municipal Office Boardroom. One resident provided comments. The Village of Silver Creek Mayor Jeff Hornberg. Mayor Hornberg spoke in favor of the project and the assistance. Louis Pelletier, The town supervisor-elect at the time in Village of Silver Creek custodian had a conflict the day of the public hearing, but he submitted in advance a letter stating his strong support for the project, along with a statement that the proposed project will help revitalize the downtown area. CCIDA also issued secret lead agency notices on November 22nd, 2023. A thorough review was undertaken by our environmental attorneys at Phillips Lido, and Matthew Fitzgerald will describe the analysis and recommended determination when we review the seeker resolution. Deviation notices were mailed to the taxing jurisdictions on February 14th, 2024. Feedback received from the Village of Silver Creek and Town of Hanover has been supportive of the project and the requested pilot schedule. Mill and Tyler will review this further in just a few moments. All in all, this redevelopment would be transformative to Main Street, the neighborhood, and downtown Silver Creek. Local and county officials and the community in general are eager to see the site return to productive use. Today, we're prepared to host a deviation hearing for the taxing jurisdictions to make comments regarding the proposed pilot schedule if they wish to do so. We are also prepared to present deviation seeker and final inducement resolutions. Before we proceed, I would next like to ask Mark Geis to provide any additional comments he may have from the CCIDA or county perspectives.
Thank you, Christine. I mean, you pretty much covered it, but I will say a couple of things. You know, number one is that we've had multiple conversations with the village mayor, Jeff Hornberg, and also the town supervisor, Lou Pelletier. Again, they're in favor of this project. They're thrilled about it. You know, that building has been an issue. Not only is it unsightly, but it's unsafe. And, you know, being able to get rid of that and build some beautiful new housing will be a real big boom to the county and to the village and town. So they're all for it. You know, it's been in foreclosure. You know, years ago, back when George Borrella was a county executive, or even before that, when he was a legislator, we were trying to figure out a way to demolish it, come up with money, and there's a lot of money out there to do that. So it's been a lingering issue for a long, long time. So this is a great project. I really have a lot of respect for Stell and gotten to know Park Grove and have a lot of respect for them too. They've been really responsive and very, very professional. So I feel really good about this project. Keep our fingers crossed that they get their approval and this project can move ahead. But obviously I'm all for it.
Yeah, and to your point, this isn't the last step in the project process, but this would be the potentially last step in the CCIDA review and approval process. So thank you. Alan, can I see you? Yes, Alan, Tom, and Ashley are joining us by Zoom. And at this time, available to answer any questions the board may have. And also, if you have any project progress updates that you'd like to share, now would be the time.
Sure, I can run through a couple of updates. Again, I'm Alan Handelman, Vice President of Development at Park Grove. We're based in Rochester, New York, but have a footprint across New York State and some other states. Notably, we submitted an application for funding to New York State HCR on November 7th. The CCIDA due diligence resolution support were a significant portion for scoring for the project. We're hopeful of receiving an award. Those awards are anticipated in the spring. We've been advised that there's a good amount of funding resources available for this round. That being said, it's not uncommon to have projects submitted more than once. Many times the funders like to see them once and have some comments on how it can be approved. But our experience is that we get feedback from the agency, whether either in the first round or in anticipation of the second round, on ways to improve the scoring. People Inc., which is the service provider to the at-risk seniors and frail elderly, have received an updated commitment for resources for the support service to the project. We did receive site plan approval October 23rd. Well, that was the day before the meeting of the IDA. Currently, there's a blackout period for the applicant to contact HCR, so we can't contact HCR staff to provide them updates, updates on support, updates on progress with the project. But we encourage supporters to reach out to members of the state delegation and let them know how important this project is, and to the extent they have the ability to relay that to HCR is most welcome. That's the update that I have.
The only thing I can add, Alan, is I did speak to Senator Borrello and Assemblyman Goodell. They've always been very supportive of our projects, and they're contacting HCR. As Alan said, we're not allowed to speak to HCR to advocate for our project, but the senator and assemblyman can and have expressed their full support for this project.
Great.
Okay. Are there any questions for the project development team?
That's easy.
Okay. Well, you've been thorough. Thank you. So now I'd like to ask Millen and Matt, if you could please review the deviation hearing and also the proposed resolutions.
Yes, we're next going to hold the pilot deviation hearing, as we often do. I will note that a notice letter was sent to each of the affected tax jurisdictions on February 14th. To my understanding, Christine, we've not received any response to the letter other than at the public hearing. The pilot that has been requested and discussed with the applicant is a 30-year pilot. That's longer than we often do, but that's so that they can get all of the long-term financing that Alan was just mentioning. The deviation letter sets forth the actual numbers, and that should be in your packet. So I guess the question is, does any member or any representative of any affected tax jurisdiction want to speak about the proposed deviation?
I don't see any representatives of the taxing jurisdictions in attendance, Millen.
Okay, hearing none, we'll close the deviation hearing. So as we often do, there are 3 resolutions in front of the board. The first is a deviation resolution resolving to deviate from your uniform tax exemption policy pursuant to the hearing that we just held. And again, the pilot schedule, the proposed pilot schedule, is set forth in your package, as is the actual letter to the affected tax jurisdictions is an attachment to the deviation. Sorry, to the deviation resolution. The second resolution, and we can vote on them all at the same time if you like, is a seeker resolution. And because this is a type 1 seeker resolution, I've asked Matt Fitzgerald, who worked on it with the agency staff, to attend and briefly describe that resolution, why it's a type 1, and the issues and analysis that we conducted on your behalf.
Thanks, Millen. So Matt Fitzgerald with Phillips Lytle. So we worked with agency staff as well as the applicant on pulling together the environmental record for this resolution. You'll see it's a lengthy resolution and includes citations to a lot of underlying information. For this project, really what I'll say the 3 big things we looked at, in addition to everything else that's detailed in there, but the 3 big ones are aesthetics, historic resources, and traffic. The nature of the use, it being not, for example, a bunch of individual family homes, it rather occurring on an existing site with increased parking, really settles the transportation concerns. Any concerns with respect to traffic are detailed in the site plan. We're looking at all the units having sufficient parking and things like that. So that dealt with the traffic concerns. On the aesthetic side, from the pictures the board saw earlier and then the renderings of what this project is going to look like, rather than an adverse effect, the board can very reasonably conclude that the project is a net benefit from an aesthetic perspective. Lastly, on the historic side of things, the building itself is both listed on the National Register of Historic Places as well as located within a historic district. So in order to address this concern, the applicant reached out to the State Historic Preservation Office. The State Historic Preservation Office came back and said, you know what, this building can't be saved. The demolition of this building makes sense, agreed with the applicant on those grounds, and the applicant is working through the consultation process with the State Historic Preservation Office, with the SHPO, to finalize what needs to happen so that they can get state level approval and funding. But for the agency's purposes, it's enough to know that the building can't be saved. It's going to have to come down one way or the other, and that this project is being designed with architectural elements that are not conflicting with the existing historic district. And all of this is being done in consultation with the experts, with the State Historic Preservation Office. So the applicant spent a great deal of time working with the SHPO on those issues, and I'm glad to say that they've got a resolution which allows this board to reasonably conclude that the project as proposed is not going to have any significant adverse environmental impacts.
Thank you, Matt. And the third resolution is the final approving resolution authorizing staff and council to execute all of the necessary documents in order to afford the 3 types of financial assistance. And again, in section 4 of the approving resolution, we set forth the agency's estimate of the amount of those exemptions, being $858,978 in real property tax exemption, $191,574 in mortgage recording tax exemptions, and $497,261 in sales tax exemption. So those are the 3 resolutions that are in front of the agency at this time.
Thank you, Melvin. Did any of the board members have any questions? Hearing none. Brad Walters, could you move new business A3 for us?
Resolution 02-27-24-01, deviation approval resolution, Silver Creek Apartments LLC. Resolution 02-27-24-02, secret resolutions. Resolution Silver Creek Apartments LLC. Resolution 02-27-24-03, final authorizing resolution, Silver Creek Apartments LLC.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
I can second it.
Thank you, Tom. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Brad Walters.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
And the resolutions are unanimously approved. So thank you all for your hard work. Clearly a lot of preparation went into that. We know we've been working on this building for a long time, and I'm sure all of us have driven by it and seen the disrepair that it's in. So it's exciting to see how far we've gotten, and hopefully the funding comes through and we're able to move ahead with this project.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's important to acknowledge Millen, as you don't see on the Zoom, he's got certain court officials on his side, both watching him as he's currently sequestered in a criminal trial deliberation. So he pulled himself away for this. So if you see him being handcuffed and walked away, go back to trial. That'll be.
Wait, to be clear, when Greg says a criminal trial, I am not the defendant.
I'm glad you clarified that for us.
Because you guys know my
He is a
reputation,
juror.
you know, it's an easy mistake to make.
Is a juror.
Well, we appreciate your dedication.
There we
Thank
go.
you all for attending.
Thank you.
Yeah, just one additional comment, the fact that the board has approved this deviation, the entire resolution, that's helpful information to be provided to HCR and the state. Certainly letting the state delegation know that, and maybe we can get back to you as to who could contact at HCR would be for you, for the IDA to reach out and let them know that this important step has been taken.
Okay, thank you. We will do that.
Yeah, happy to do that. It'll also be posted on the IDA's website.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we'll move into new business B, resolution presented by Mark.
I don't know why my name's on it, but Bob Murray from Harris Beach is here to talk about this. I'll just say one thing real quick, is that this is one of the recommendations from the ABO report that was done. So Bob will talk about this, and we'll answer any questions you might have. Bob?
Sure. Thank you, Mark. And I apologize I couldn't be there in person today. I'm actually in Rochester. I had to attend to some family business last night and today, so I apologize. So before the IDA and the other two, the IDA affiliates, the CREDC and the CCCRC, which will have the exact same resolution before those entities as well, is we're seeking the board to approve of entering into a management and services administration agreement by and between the three entities, wherein the IDA and its staff will provide management and administrative services to the CREDC, to CREDC and CRC. This comes directly out of the ABO audit that was performed at least 3 or 4 places. The ABO was acknowledging that if they're separate and distinct entities, which everybody knows they are, and they're sharing the staff and that there needs an agreement memorializing who's making decisions and who's undertaking and how are those services being paid for by and between the entities. So in response, Rich and Mark and I, and the staff as well, other staff, and Julie, Mark, we've prepared a management services and a management and administrative services agreement. You have a draft of it before you today. And again, we're seeking to give Mark the authority to negotiate and execute this draft agreement by between the three entities. In a nutshell, one other change kind of behind the scenes was the ABO was confused with who staff was. IDA staff was. There were W-2 staff. There was independent contractor staff. Some of the staff was county staff. In talking with Mark and Rich and the county attorney, we've moved all of the CCIDA staff into W-2 employees. So there's no concern anymore whether or not they're an independent contractor or W-2 who's overseeing them and things like that. So IDA is fully capable of undertaking its duties. It has the skills and abilities and the staff and the knowledge and the wherewithal to undertake the very related business tasks of CREDC and CRC. So the CREDC and CRC are entering into service contracts agreement, desirous of having the IDA staff manage and oversee and undertake operations on behalf of those entities. These are any and all, and anything else that's not otherwise enumerated in here, we have the ability to amend or take on additional responsibilities on behalf of the other two entities as well. But it goes from supervision to public authority and accountability act compliance and filing, maintenance of the financial statements, property management, computer consulting, administrative and reception services, other contemporaneous duties that you're already doing, but now we're formalizing it properly. So in this contract, this agreement, we have a method of fee calculation, which ABO was also concerned about. We've worked with Rich and we've talked with other IDAs to see how that's being accounted for. And I guess that's in a nutshell. Definitely, if anyone has any other questions, but I think we're pretty much near responding to, I think this was the last item, or one of the last items that this agency was required to undertake in response to the ABO audit, and Mark might have more to say on that. But this I think was bringing that audit process to a conclusion. And Mark and Rich, I apologize if I missed anything, but I think that covers it.
And I'll just add that we have the same resolution for both CREDC and CRC as well, you'll see. So you're going to stay on, Bob, and if there's any other questions, but it's basically the same agreement, same resolution.
Correct.
Did any board members have any questions on the resolution? Hearing none. Sagan, Sheffield Smith, would you move resolution B1 for us?
Sure. Resolution 02-27-24-04 for the IDA and its affiliates to enter into a management and administrative services agreement.
Do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Dan. Roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Brad Walters.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe. Dan Demart.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
And the resolution is unanimously approved. I'd just like to thank everybody, certainly like to thank Bob and everybody, I mean, we put this resolution and, it seems pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of work that's gone on behind the scenes, on how this all works and getting it all documented. And so certainly the staff and, council has done a lot to get us all the way to be for the ABO. And so certainly appreciate all the hard work that's been done behind the scenes. We'll move into an executive director's report.
Yeah, I won't take a lot of time. On kind of highlights. I was at a New York State Economic Development Council meeting last week in Albany for a few days. They have 2 meetings a year. This is sort of the winter session, summer session in Cooperstown. When I used to go, I used to feel sort of lost, like not lost, but sort of like, man, there's more we should be doing, or maybe not completely understanding what was going on. And it's amazing. I think what I brought back from this one is we're doing all the right stuff. I feel like we're doing more than a lot of other areas are doing, other IDA. So I left feeling really good about that. Obviously, it's good to talk to people and go to sessions and learn more, but I think we're doing all the right stuff. So I felt really good about that. Going to Washington next week with County Executive Wendell, Chairman Chignon of the legislature, Dave McCoy and myself. We went last year too, lobbying for funding, congressional funding. We'll meet with Schumer and Gillibrand and Langworthy, the Army Corps of Engineers. The one thing I'm going to be pushing for again is funding for shovel-ready sites. And last year, we didn't make the cut, but I'm feeling more positive this year that we've got a lot of things in lined up now, and we have a really good story to tell. And I'm going to go and push for it as hard as I can. Last week, tomorrow, the legislature will be deciding on whether they pass a resolution for the county to buy an IDA bond for the Ripley site. Thank you, Tom, and the PED committee and audit and control. They approved it at the subcommittee level. But they would buy, because of that $5.25 million Fast New York grant that we got for the Ripley site is reimbursable. We have to spend the money before we get the money. Of course, we had to, this is one method that we can use and the prime method for how we pay for that, by the county purchasing an IDA. So hopefully they pass it tomorrow night. The other thing I wanted to just mention real quick was we have we've been working for quite some time on this branding and marketing campaign for the IDA and also the county, really. And it's called Choose CHQ and Live CHQ. Choose CHQ is really sort of the IDA business side. Choose us, locate your business here. And Live CHQ is more the sort of the quality of life side of things, and more CREDC has more to do with that. But wanted you to know that we've been working really hard on that. Jason's put in a lot of time and effort, doing an awesome job, and the rest of our team. On March 11th, we'll receive training on our new website. Our website, that's been a tough nut. It's really, there's so much to do with making it appealing, making it easy to manage, but also then making sure that we have everything on there that we need to for the ABO. And that was one of the things that, when we were going through the review and the audit, was our website is old and it's clunky and it really needed to be updated. So we're redoing that. So March 11th, we'll receive training from Clever Method, our consultant, on the 12th. They'll be handing that over to us for final content updates on March 21st. The website will go live for a soft opening, so we'll probably share it with you and have you play around with, see if you can break it or see if you can, see anything that doesn't look right. April 1st, the Live CHQ marketing and advertising begins with some digital social media ads. We have billboards on the I-90 near the Pennsylvania border, and on I-86 near Chautauqua Lake Bridge. April 16th, we have a Live CHQ kickoff event at the Robert H. Jackson Center. We'll be providing all details of campaign to the press and key stakeholders. On April 18th, we'll have a kickoff North and South County, right? Robert H. Jackson Center on the 16th. On the 18th, we're doing it up at the Fredonia Opera House in Fredonia. So, and then on the 19th, we'll have a full press on the marketing. We'll do radio ads, print ads, podcasting, video streaming ads. So this is pretty complicated stuff, but we're set up. We have a whole strategy for how we're going to roll this out, how we're going to really push it out, and get the most bang for the buck. And we're really excited about it. I don't know, Jason, if you want to add anything to that.
No, sir. Only that the website launch date is tentative, but we are moving right along on schedule.
Nice work, really.
Thank you.
So that's that. The other thing I wanted to mention was we have a meeting with the Ralph Wilson Foundation tomorrow. We're pushing for continued funding for another 3 years for CPEG. They're really happy with what we're doing. We hosted them at the last meeting. Remember, they were here and we spent the whole day with them, and they were thrilled. So hopefully cross our fingers on that. And we also are a brownfield revolving loan fund. I've talked about that. We got $600,000 from the EPA. We've been working with Brian Hahn and CNS Consulting. Nate's been taking the lead on this to roll that out in the next probably next month or so. I might not have that exactly right, but there's a lot to it, putting the program together, and really what we want to do is with that $600,000, we'd like to do 2 to 4 projects. And that funding is for developers to help them pay for the cost of cleanup. And that's money that typically is hard to get. The bank won't finance that. So, we do a good job on this. We'll go back to the EPA. We'll say, this is what we did. We need more money. So that's sort of where we're, and then I guess the ABO, because, we just passed this resolution, we're responding to the ABO with, how we've done on addressing their concerns. We will get that out by Friday, and we've been working hard on that. Harris Beach and Bob has been, and Julie, Bob Murray from Harris Beach and Julie Marshall from Harris Beach and our team have been putting together that response. We feel pretty good about it. So, we'll get that off and hopefully that addresses everything. So, anybody have any questions?
Thank you. Rich, did you want to do a treasurer's report?
Yes, you have in front of you a balance sheet for the IDA. Typically would have reviewed this in January. At a report, March, we would have done the audited financial statements, but with the complexity that we've entered into in the last few years, we're switching that up now to not do a report in January and we do it in February. So that gave us a little more time to get these numbers finalized. So again, we're going to review the IDA balance sheet here. We've got that broken down into 5 funds. Under the IDA, look at the balance sheet, you'll see there's a significant amount of cash there. A lot of that cash is designated for other projects. If we look down under deferred revenue, we'll see 2.5 million of that money. And that's for a broadband project, that the money we got from the county, and that's included in the IDA. The other number here that I want to take a look at is at the bottom, the $648,000 current year profit over loss, and we'll get into that detail in a minute. But we had a good year. The Northern Chautauqua Industrial, you can see we have 3.2 million in cash there, and we have 3.26 of that is deferred revenue. Revenue came from a variety of sources, ARPA, county capital projects and such. And when we would get expenses for that, we would recognize the revenue during the year. We had a lot of architectural fees and consultant fees for digging up arrowheads and all that. So we got all that. But when we buy property, the property stays on the balance sheet as an asset. But we do need to recognize the revenue. So that's why you'll see that large gain there, because we did have recognizing that revenue, and property never depreciates. So we won't be depreciating that property. So it'll stay on our balance sheet.
By the way, they didn't find any arrowheads.
Okay. So that's that. And then
In your drawer.
we have the 3 loan funds after that, as we typically do. So if we turn to the next page of revenue and expense, pointing out that the IDA had a real good year, 648,000, 859,000 of that was all attributed to the sale of the Talcott Street building. And we'll look at that at a little more detail when we get to the variance page. So again, the EDA CARES Act holding its own, even though we had 146,000 of bad debt expense we hadn't had any bad debts there, but we're building up our bad debt reserve for that. So if we look at the variance report, a couple things I'd like to mention there. Big thing is that if we look at the gain on sale of assets, the book value, we actually lost $119,000 when we sold the building. It had a book value of 1.7. We had depreciated a couple $100,000 of that, so we were down to like 1.5, almost 1.5. We sold it for 1.4, so we didn't recognize that loss there. But we had forgiveness of debt. We had borrowed money from the county, $2 million. We accrued $230,000 worth of interest on that. The county never accrued that as revenue though, but we accrued it as an expense. But when we sold the building, the county agreed to take the proceeds. We gave the county the entire proceeds from the sale. So we write off the difference that we owed there, and then we come up with a gain on the books, non-cash gain, but still forgiveness of debt of 979. So that's all off the books now. The debt's gone, the building's gone, everything's gone. And then on our year-to-date budget, we're a little above on, or a little below on the revenue, and part of that was the timing for the North County Industrial Park. We had budgeted only $1.5 million. We actually got $2 million. So, in revenue there. So again, we purchased a lot of property here in January to complete phase 1 of that acquisition. So that will show up in January's report when we do that in April. Just looking at the variances, a lot of timing issues, nothing. The professional fees, again, that was $190,000 over budget. A lot of that was due to the North County Industrial Park, where we did recognize the revenue. So that's really misleading. Publicity and promotion too. There was some grants there that were specifically for that we did receive the revenue. So that's over. So I think we had a great year. I think the cash flow continues to be exceptional. We are looking, the board had passed a resolution back in November, I believe, where we're looking at utilizing another bank and probably going to do some CDs and ladder some CDs out here, make a little more on our money. So That's all I have, Gary, on the IDA, unless anyone has any specific questions.
Any questions on the treasurer's report?
And I just wanted to say, Mark talked about the podcast. I listened to my first podcast last night. It was on when to draw your social security. So I just bored it.
Not for a long time. Is that what they said?
You gotta take it pretty soon because, yeah. They don't give you anything for waiting after a certain point.
Right. We need to approve the treasurer's report.
Well, I think we should have, and we were gonna talk a little bit about the audit committee too, Gary, if you want to talk about that now, that's probably.
Okay. Well, first, I'll just say that the audit committee met and, so, that's in process. We went over all the details, what they'll be auditing and looking at everything. We haven't got the report back yet, but, we'll be getting that next month or so, and then, we'll report that back to the board once that's completed. Having said that, do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Megan, do we have a second?
I can second it.
Thank you, Tom. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The treasurer's report has been accepted.
Yeah.
At this point, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the financial or credit history of a particular person or corporation. In particular, I would like to discuss the status of our loan portfolio and the financial and credit status of some of our borrowers, as well as some CCIDA personnel. I believe that discussing this in open session would substantially affect the value. Do I hear such a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Sagan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, well,
Do we need Bob to stay on? I mean, I don't know if he needs to for CREDC and for CRC to explain that because it's the exact same thing. So Bob, I think you can probably drop off, okay?
Okay, will do. And Mr. Chairman, excellent job. Found the ABO executive session preamble was outstanding. Plus.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks,
Take
Bob.
care. Yeah.
See ya.